It's on vinyl and vision.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 81. This is episode number 6 in our Noise Rock series for No Coast Fest 2022. Today's very special guest is the Kronk Men. The Kronk Men is a 3-piece heralding from Bend, Oregon. It was an awesome opportunity to get to meet these guys. I had known nothing about the Kronk Men until I started to listen to their music because of No Coast Fest, and then obviously speaking with them on this conversation today, and it was a wonderful conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff. It was a pretty cool conversation. The topic of conversation was Scratch Acid's Berserker EP, the final EP of Scratch Acid. It's only 6 songs, so it was kind of a nice little condensed piece of music for me to focus on. Very hard record to analyze because there's just not anything about it anywhere, but it was great. It was a great conversation. I think we touched on a lot of really great aspects and kind of like cool topics, including where the Kronk Men are from, like, and kind of how they came to be, and it's a pretty interesting little story actually. So I'm really excited to have gotten to know these guys, and I'm actually going to definitely try to pick up some of their music very soon. I encourage you to do the same. We'll provide you links to their Bandcamp page so you can buy all of their albums as well there. Obviously, whatever is physical to get, they have tapes and some CDs and some vinyl records, but limited quantities at this point. But everything is available digitally, of course, so you can always do that. And links to No Coast Fest will be provided. The Kronk Men are playing on Saturday night, which is an awesome bill. And looking forward to hopefully getting to meet them in Denton. If not, then I will run into them at some point again soon, I hope. Just like to say thanks again, folks, for tuning in. All we ask is that you please do all the things you do with please do all the things you do with the internet. Like, share, comment, subscribe, rate, review, all of those good things. We really do appreciate it, honestly, from the bottom of our hearts. You can always visit my website, psychicstatic.net, and find out ways to support the show if you care to do that in a monetary way. We would really appreciate that as well. And without further ado, here's the show. What's going on, guys?
Oh, not too much.
The Kronk Men, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
So, right out the gate, I have to ask you your names because I can't find your names anywhere. Is there a reason for that?
I mean, I thought they were online. It's not a secret.
Okay, yeah, because I looked up your Bandcamp and your Facebook and all that stuff, and I just couldn't see your names anywhere. I guess it's I don't own any of your records yet. Is that
like our names? Your
yes.
name. My God-given name.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Jake.
Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have it online. We got to modify that.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was a reason for that because it seems a little bit like designed that way, like a mystique. We don't want to.
Yeah, not trying to provide an air of mystique. We just probably forgot to put our names on there.
Yeah. Well, I got to get your records because I've been listening. I listened to all 3 of them. And then, do you have a new EP out right now or a new single? What is that?
It's an old EP. Like, we're going to be doing some reissues of that. Like, we're working on new songs coming up. It's just, the pandemic and life and everything happening. We're playing catch up with that too.
Right.
I think the latest one was the Cornucopia of Evil EP that we put out in late 2019.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the most recent thing that's listed, right?
Yeah.
It's the most recent thing online.
I just got to let you guys know. So, I'm sorry. So now why don't we just start with the introductions? Jake, right?
Yeah.
So what you play the guitar, I think, right?
I play guitar.
All right. And Charlie, you are drummer?
Drummer.
All right. I'm getting it. So this narrows it down. Now, you said your name was Dirk?
Yep, that's correct.
And you're the bassist?
I am the bassist.
Cool, man. So that's the band, 3-piece, no vocals.
Nope. No vocals.
Why is that? No one's a singer?
What? Say that again?
No one's a singer?
No, none of us took up vocals, and I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem like we really need to search for a vocalist. I mean, I feel like we've kind of got our formula dialed in to function without vocals.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great music. I mean, like I love the instrumental aspect, and I think that it gets brought up a lot when I have these conversations with musicians about, sometimes you don't even really listen to the vocals in all different types of genres. It's like sometimes it's just not prevalent.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was part of it. Like if you guys just didn't think like, well, we don't really need vocals. Just we rely heavily on the melodies.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten to that point where it's like the music just speaks for itself. Like at some of our live shows, the music will just whip people into a frenzy. It's like you don't really need a vocalist like fronting the band like in a live situation with our shows. Like it's almost like it evokes like just chaos in people. Like we've had some crazy situations with people breaking arms or getting body slammed on floors. It's been wild. just from the music too.
Yeah. That's crazy. So what kind of bills do you guys normally like play on?
Oh, I would say we play on all kinds of bills.
Yeah, we'll do opening slots for bands coming through town. We'll go out. We book our own tours. We did more before the pandemic. We're getting back into that now. We're opening for Conan Neutron on Monday in Eugene, the 19th. But yeah, we do all kinds of shows.
Yeah, like what different types of style of bands, like different types of genres and stuff.
Yeah,
I'd say all kinds of genres across the spectrum.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what I love about your music. It seems so kind of universal. I mean, kind of a touchstone on like surf rock, psychedelia, and then of course noise rock too, right?
Yeah, I'd say
that's pretty accurate.
Fairly accurate. Yeah.
I love the new record or the last one before the EP, the album 3. You're just going by numbers.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. First 3 were just numbered.
Right.
And then we released that one through Forbidden Place. They did vinyl for us, which is cool.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, and what's with the artwork? Like I love it. It's just like the 1 and 3 are like the collage style, but then the second one is just artwork.
I mean, we were using different artists that we knew for the covers. Really, I mean, it wasn't necessarily calculated. I mean, the third one was a painting. I think it's just that maybe it looks a little more like a collage. I think it almost looks more like a medieval Flemish painting.
Yeah, like what's his name? Bosch, like Hieronymus Bosch or something like that.
Yeah, like Bosch or Bruegel.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
I love it.
Pretty reminiscent of that. But yeah, the first one was a artist friend of ours, Josh Sachs, and he does collage art primarily. So that one was collage.
Cool. All right. Well, who's that?
Yeah, we worked with Wynn Wallace for the Cornucopia album, and I think he was in a band with Brett Bradford from Scratch Acid, which is kind of a funny coincidence too. So, yeah.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where is he these days? Is he still in Texas?
I think everybody's still at Texas, aren't they?
I would assume so. I mean,
Well, I know Yao's in California. He's trying to be the actor.
Scratch Acid. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know Ray Washam. Like, I stumbled upon Ray Washam's actor's reel too. He's an actor in some stuff, and it's pretty unreal. It's a kick in the ass watching those.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I heard about him acting, but I didn't know what he did. I'll just have to look it up. I'll have to like IMDb him or something.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar. I just stumbled upon stuff here and there.
Yeah. So, considering you brought up Scratch Acid, I invited you on to speak about an album that was important to you, and it's always difficult with a whole band, multiple members, because you guys had to agree on this unanimously, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, we all had to come up. Yeah, with something.
It was a tricky
something
one.
We could all agree on.
Yeah. So how did you make that decision?
I mean, I think we just kind of all put forward some different options and just talked collectively and seemed to focus on an album. I think that was the most influential to us, I guess, when we were younger, kind of forming the band, that made the most sense. Because I mean, we could have picked a ton of albums, but if we're only picking about or talking about picking one album. This is kind of what we settled on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult question, really. I mean, I know that there's always tons of albums that come to mind, but this is unique this is the first time I get to cover anything, Scratch Acid or Jesus Lizard related, which is odd because the Jesus Lizard name in particular keeps on coming up in these conversations, revolving around the idea of noise rock. And I didn't know Scratch Acid actually. I gotta admit, I'd heard of them, but I can't say I honestly ever listened to the music. So my first impression from hearing this was that I felt, without knowing the history either, I was just like, this reminds me of the Jesus Lizard, like a toned down kind of more melodic Jesus Lizard.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
They're kind of more of like the American birthday party.
I see that
Nick
too.
Cave,
Right.
like that was like the other album we were kind of narrowing down. It would either be like Scratch Acid or like a birthday party album. Like those are probably two the two most influential bands probably on what we're all doing for the most part, collectively.
Yeah. I hear that. I totally hear that, especially because I'm listening to both of you guys for essentially the first time, and really digging into it, and I can kind of see some close connections. There's definitely the surf rock aspect. I mean, you guys consider yourself surf rock?
I don't
really.
know if I would use that handle at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it's kind of hard for us to really come up with an easy handle to describe what we're doing. I mean, I know when people ask us, people want something that they can kind of hang their hat on and say like, oh yeah, it's this. But right. I could see elements of surf rock, maybe neo psychedelia,
sure.
Probably like some noise rock, different types of stuff.
Post-punk,
post-hardcore.
That's a good one. That one just got mentioned last night, actually, that I forgot about. And yeah, but so you mentioned noise rock. So obviously you're not saying that that's the sole category of what you would consider yourself to fall under, but how do you feel about falling under there? I mean, you think that's actually, you obviously think that's accurate. I think
it's fine and applicable. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's a fine place for us to end up. It seems like we fit in with it.
Yeah,
that's accurate.
I think so. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. What night are you playing at the fest?
Saturday the 29th.
Yeah,
Saturday 29th. Awesome. Great. Yeah, that's also another excellent day of the 4. Definitely one that you don't want to miss. So let me see. Now, I was having a really hard time with this record. I guess before I get there, let me get your opinion on what do you guys think noise rock is? Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, that's a tricky question.
Yeah. Like, what would you how would you describe noise rock?
Challenging music that challenges the listener. It's typically, you have just elements of like atonal or just noisy stuff in it, like stuff that's kind of jarring or like just makes you uncomfortable, I guess, which is cool. Yeah,
musically speaking, but also a little bit of danger, a little bit of kind of like confrontation or kind of like chaos.
Yeah, chaos is good.
Yeah, like I haven't been able to see you guys play yet. Well, how would you describe your show under those kind of the premises we just mentioned?
It's like a therapeutic release.
Yeah, I mean, probably some catharsis. We're just getting up there and playing what we made, playing it to the best of our ability. Putting as much feeling as we can into it. I mean, I know for myself, these kinds of questions are always tough. It'd be like being in an interview and having somebody say like, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah.
What are your strongest attributes that you're going to bring to this company? And you're like, I just want a job, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I try to get into the brains a little bit because it's kind of interesting that I'm finding and especially because this series specifically, I'm kind of like focusing on the idea of noise rock, and it's been pretty interesting, kind of figuring out what people's progressions were like in life. So I guess go ahead.
Oh, it seemed like we all just kind of like we were pulled to that kind of sound. Like it's just like it's like comfortable to your ear. Like it's like once you hear it, it's like it changes your DNA. It's like that's how it was kind of hearing Scratch Acid for the first time, where that was kind of like one of those life-changing moments where it's like, whoa, this is like where you could kind of kind of going what you're saying. This is where I could picture myself in like a few years playing. This is like the trajectory we're going as a band like this, but it's like it happened a long time ago. So it just kind of feels just comfortable and like home in a way, It's like, it's hard to describe other than it just feels like, it's something that's supposed to be in my life, like these bands, like this sound.
Right.
And like, it's just a lot of especially the touch and go stuff, the AM rep stuff, a lot of the Australian stuff that doesn't seem to get talked about a lot of the time. A lot of the early sub pop stuff too. The Seattle stuff's good.
Absolutely.
But it's like it just rings true. It's hard to even really describe other than it just feels like home,
That's a great description of it. I really relate to that. So tell me, you mentioned about this record, Scratch Acid's Berserker, their final EP release. When did you hear it? Like, how old were you?
Oh man,
it was like 2001 or something.
Yeah, it was like 2001. Yeah, like I remember ordering it from it was the greatest gift CD on Touch and Go. It was like a compilation of all their albums, and like it was the Berserker part that I thought was always the most brutal too. But like I remember hearing that, like I got it from the local record store and just getting kind of stoned and listening to that, where it's like, whoa, it's like you could feel your like almost DNA changing, and it's like I've had very few experiences like that in my life with music. It's like Birthday Party was a big one like that, and it's like even though they influenced Scratch Acid and a lot of bands like that, like Killdozer, which is another great band. Like it came afterwards. We heard the Birthday Party after Scratch Acid, but for me, like those were the two. Like, it was once I heard Scratch Acid, I think we were like 16, like me and Charlie, and Dirk was like 18, but it was we were in our teens, and it was pretty life affirming hearing that.
Yeah. And so like what around that same time frame, what were you guys already kind of listening to? Like what was common?
A lot of punk, like Dead Kennedys is a huge one too. Like the backing band of the Dead Kennedys is a big influence on what we do too. Punk, like with all the stuff we've always listened to, we listen to, it's a lot of we're it's underground punk stuff at that point, and just happened to get to Scratch Acid,
Right. And you guys are from Portland, Oregon, right?
We're from Bend.
We're not from Portland. We're in the Pacific Northwest technically, but we're kind of more in the inland Northwest. We're in the high desert.
Okay, cool.
We're about 150 miles from Portland. So
what's that like?
Right now it's a booming resort town, but when we were growing up, it was just kind of really, it was off the radar, it was very rural and isolated, so that's probably got something to do with our progression. We're not really part of a scene, we're kind of off doing our own thing over here. You didn't get a ton of bands coming through town here. So maybe that's why a lot of these other, types of music resonated with us, Some of the more like inland American bands, Midwestern stuff, because it's not the coastal cities that are the hubs of culture. It's kind of people that are off doing their own thing.
Sure.
Or like the Australians, they're, off kind of far removed doing their own thing down there.
Yeah. Well, so then who turned you on to music, like at a young age? Like, what was that like?
I would say we probably started with Nirvana.
Yeah. Like that started kind of
early teens.
Like, yeah. It's like, it was one of the first albums I ever heard was like Nevermind and then In Utero. And, it's like hearing the, or reading about like, the name drops and like, the shirts he wore and like just, promoting all those bands where it's like, well, I'm into this guy and this band. So it's like these bands must be interesting, so it's like you go down that rabbit hole and it's like, it's a great rabbit hole to go down. And it's like, and then, listening to like some hardcore from friends like Misfits of the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag is huge too. Like that's a really big one on us.
Well, once you could get a car and go into the record store,
that was too,
in town, and then you'd be like, it was like, oh, well, the guy in this band, he said, he had a shirt that had this band, and you're like, well, what is that fucking band all about? Because this was before the internet was a big part of everybody's lives,
everything.
So you'd have to go spend money on a record, and and then you go, oh, well, that's fucking cool, and then you pull the thread, and then it keeps unraveling, and it leads you to one thing, to another thing, to another thing. So that was kind of how we got into a lot of this stuff.
And it was a fun chase too, tracking down these albums and these bands where it's like, it's hard to do, and it's like now with the internet, it's like everything, is at your fingertips and it's almost just boring, it's like, there's some, it's cool to stumble upon interesting bands, but
there's
like,
still a lot of stuff
It's
that
just,
I would have never heard about that I'm finding that's older, you know, as well as new stuff. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
it is a double-edged sword. Yeah.
You know, it exposes you to
Yeah.
a lot of different stuff. You know, it also kind of erodes, you know, the culture around you in your everyday life. So I mean, there's a trade-off for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I was trying to think about this record. There's something I had to ask you guys. You know, I got kind of held up on the whole like not being able to find your names or anything, but
Yeah.
I was doing research about this band, you know, Scratch Acid, and there's very little to find about them. I'll share that with you now. Man, I had a hard time like just getting any good information about this record and the band. I mean, like I know stuff about the members, but as far as like what they were doing at the time, like how it was, you know, how this record came to be, how they wrote songs, like where those ideas for those songs came from, like there's like nothing. It's like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they're
mean,
probably products
if
of their
you-
own scene
well,
too.
if you had trouble finding our names,
Yeah.
even, and we're a current active band, it would not be surprising that you're having trouble finding something that's about 35 years old.
Right. You know, but yeah, I mean, there's that legacy with them, and there's definitely like notoriety for them. You know, there's reviews and stuff like that, but reviews are you know opinionated. It's not like any kind of like hard facts about the band. It's themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just it just made what I do here a little weird, a little tricky. But one thing I did find was like how they kind of just came across the name Scratch Acid, like just by combining two words and just kind of seeing what stuck, and that's something that jumped out. But I wanted to know like, what is Kronk?
You know, we had a list of names to choose from. We couldn't settle on something.
Yeah.
And this was the name off the list. Charlie made a name list.
Yeah.
We went through it, and in our minds, you know, the name was kind of like inconsequential because we were like, well, fuck it, we'll probably be a band for 2 months, and then we'll get a better name when we have another band. So
Right.
it doesn't really matter. We'll just pick this. We can settle on this. Cool, done. Okay.
Yeah.
24
And now-
years
And I,
later.
you know, it's kind of a nonsensical name. I guess it kind of fit with what we were doing. We're just trying to make weird fucking music,
Yeah.
play it, and we're like, all right, fine, cool, that name works. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, you can't really change horses midstream. You get further out and further out, and you're like, well, I guess this is what we're doing. But
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
there's nothing really behind it.
Okay. Yeah. Weird. Well, so like, where did it even come from? Like, because Kronk, it's just like a made up word, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Charlie's
came from Charlie's mind.
Yeah.
Cool,
It's
man.
just made up stuff. Yeah. Probably similar fashion to how Scratch Acid came up with their name, was just
Yeah.
bouncing ideas off the wall.
Right. And so like, did you you were the one compiling this list of names. Was it just like one word syllables you were looking for? You knew it was going to be like something, the something men.
No, we had all kinds of random stuff. I would
across the board.
I would say it's probably, really similar to now, like how we would name songs. It's just like something stupid or random, or, you know, has some kind of ring to it. You just kind of write things down, you know,
Sure.
throughout your life. And it just kind of, you end up with a list of random things to choose from.
Mm-hmm. And it's just what stuck. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something that you share with the band Scratch Acid. I mean, in addition to obviously being kind of like crazy noise rock music with a slight hint of like kind of surf rock or melody tendencies, stuff like that. Yeah, it was a great choice. So the first song on the album is "Mary Had a Little Drug Problem." That bass line, that was amazing right there.
Oh yeah, that's a ripper. That's a great song. I was like the riff, yeah, the bass line, the way it's all put together is just, it's a great song.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this was late in their career. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe they didn't know that this was going to be their last album, but this is the way to kick it off. I definitely have read that there was a progression made. Now, when I originally approached you guys about doing this and speaking about a record, you did initially choose the Greatest Gift album, which is the compilation.
That's a compilation of 3 different albums and EPs, and it's 30 songs long. So
Yeah,
Right,
we figured
right.
narrow it down, and it's also easy to find.
yeah, and that's
You know?
it's a posthumous release.
Yeah.
So it seemed like kind of like narrowing down, I guess, for what us was the most the part of the album that pertained most to, I guess, what we were thinking musically, you know, because I mean the whole
Right.
album's great, but I think that we were more drawn to that last third of it.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess I probably feel the same. I mean, I didn't sit with that entire album for too long, but I did know that it was like, you know, a compilation of all of the releases essentially. This one being the tail end.
Yeah.
So the whole album was great. I mean, it was a great experience to just kind of listen to it like in its entirety for the first time. Because like I said, I knew there was something strange about it. I knew obviously it was influential and obviously it matters kind of culturally to the whole noise rock scene. But yeah, I just didn't really know what to make of it. Yeah, until I finally found out it was like Dave Yao and David Sims that were a few, you know, went on to create the Jesus Lizard, of course. So now, what was now when you first heard this for the first time, what was the thing that went through your head about it?
It was powerful and strange.
Yeah.
You know, it was an album that we had heard about, you know, just Scratch Acid in general, but you couldn't find that stuff very easily. You know, it wasn't like, you know, it's not like today where you can get on Spotify or you can get on YouTube and find things. Like you could get a VHS of an old show. Now you could watch like 10 old shows that you never even knew about that are just really stellar, and they're just some random person uploaded it on the internet. And
Right.
we're kind of spoiled now, but back then, you know, you were hungrier for this stuff. So it was pretty cool, you know, finally getting to hear the album. It was, you know, a fucking weird album. Definitely different than a lot of the other stuff we had listened to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think as a group of friends too, there was a lot of sharing of things. Like I remember, you know, meeting up with these guys, and it was like we're making tapes of stuff, like compilations, and passing them off to each other. And, you know, we're all kind of like, I don't want to say outcasts from like the high school or whatever, but just kind of like we had our own scene and our own stuff that was going on. And the music was a big part of it, you know, passing things around and like stumbling into different sounds and different things and sharing them was a big part of it.
Well, yeah, we were skating, you know, skateboarding a lot at that time. So I think that goes with music culture, where you're kind of doing your own thing, you know, and the local music around here, you know, it was kind of, I don't know, lots of sharing of ideas. Everybody goes to shows, packs in the car, you know, you get a new CD and then you're fucking blasting it. Everybody's listening to it while you're skating, you know, so it kind of has a big impact on everyone at the same time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now you touched on that a little bit earlier when I asked you where you guys were from, and you said that it's a small town, and so you know it's not a very big scene, but you must have like a few other kind of like notable bands in your surrounding area, or no?
No,
I mean, there's people doing stuff locally.
Yeah.
Not that anything like we're doing though. That like you could like make a bill and like pull from local bands and be like, this is a crazy bill. You know, it's like we'll have punk bands. You have like, you know, Americana bands, like, you know, it's pretty much like a brewery town right now. So it's like a lot of the music that gets booked around here, except for like a couple venues, maybe 3. Like it's typically just like, you know, like the piano player in the bar, or like, you know, like you're just background music, you know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like there's people doing stuff.
There's people doing stuff though,
It's
but it's
probably
like it's just
any
different styles.
any town USA where you got
Yeah.
a couple metal bands, you got an
Yeah.
indie
Right.
band, you got some
Absolutely.
punk band, you
Right.
got
Right.
a country band.
Yeah. No. Exactly. So I mean, I know you got to have a couple at least, but so then
Yeah, I mean, there's not really like a regional like sound or anything like that you'd have in the past, just because
Right,
everything's so connected. Everybody's kind of doing the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
I would say that there's also not a lot of bands from this area that are striving to play outside of the area. Like a lot of the bands that are here, they only inhabit this scene, and so they just circulate this scene kind of rapidly.
Right.
And a lot of them, I don't know if there's just no desire to or what, but a lot of people, they don't even get up to the bigger cities in our own state, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
Sure. That makes a good point, though, because I was going to ask you about your own career. Like, you know, you're going to be playing down at No Coast Fest, and so that's obviously a far distance from where you are. You're planning a tour, I hope, I imagine.
No, it's gonna be a one-off.
Oh
We're
yeah.
flying out to play the festival.
Yeah.
It
Cool.
would have been nice to have tried to set up a tour
Yeah.
to make it out there, but that wasn't in the cards this year.
Sure. No,
I'm
we're-
actually not even living in the area right now. I'm about, I don't know, a few hours away from home base right now, going to school. So it's a big undertaking to be coming back to town each weekend, hammering out the practices and keeping everything rolling steady.
right.
So, I mean, just with everything that we each have going on right now, really making a tour out of that just before winter was just kind of unfeasible.
But I mean, this is
Sure.
also something you have to confront as you get older, as an adult, still playing music and having it be part of your life is you're having to juggle that with a lot of other stuff.
Oh yeah. I
having
just
to
had
juggle career,
the
family.
yeah. I just had the conversation with my wife last night. I was just like, I know it sounds crazy, but we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the
Follow
same
your
boat.
passions too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and that's exactly the thing is it's like if you're passionate about something truly and you really want to make a go of it, like to the best of your ability, I mean, it does require a little money, sure, and time and dedication, and you just have to take those chances. I mean, like, how did you even get in touch with Jeff about the fest? Like, how did he find you?
He reached out to us, which was cool. We just got a random email just asking what it would take to come out, which was
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, he's a cool dude. Like, but yeah, like it was just, email out of the blue, like asking if we were supposed to open for last year with White Drugs, his band, like
Oh,
that
okay.
they're reuniting for the opening of the fest, the pre-fest show, I should say. And we were going to fly out for that, but just with just the way COVID happened in the fall, it's like everything fell apart pretty much for everybody. So we didn't make it out for that. So we kind of kept in touch and, he asked us to come out and play this year. So we're going to make this happen.
right. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad that he followed up and followed through. You guys getting you guys down there for finally.
Yeah.
So you've never played down there before, like even
No,
just in
just-
Texas.
No,
Never been
never
to
even been to
Texas,
Texas.
no.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
how did Jeff find you? Because you said he asked you to open up for White Drugs. Like,
I
how
am
did
not
he?
sure.
Yeah,
how Jeff found us.
probably
I
like-
mean, probably just through.
the internet? Yeah, like
maybe through you post some videos
Yeah,
that you
like-
have in the Noise Rock Now.
Oh,
Noise
okay.
Rock Now, the AM rep pages, like like whenever we have like some live footage or anything worth sharing, I think I'll throw it out there and just
Amazing.
just see how people like it. It's like they can love it or leave it, but it's like I'm gonna throw it out there.
Right.
And
No,
like
that's great.
it was out of the blue. It was cool.
That's so awesome. Well, that's pretty fucking amazing, I think, in this day and age, like, we mentioned earlier about like how you can kind of find anything and just kind of get bored with it because there's so much shit on the internet that you can find.
Yeah.
To have, mind your way through all of that to him and to have made enough of an impression that he said, like, I got to get these guys for my festival. Like, that's pretty amazing.
It's an honor, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's really rad.
Especially from from coming out from like such a small and rural beginnings and just like listening to all these music, seeing all this stuff evolve to this point where we're at now, I guess. And then actually like we're kind of a part of it now, and
Yeah.
we're from the middle of nowhere.
Right. And you're flying into the middle of nowhere to play a show about fucking
Yeah.
crazy music.
Fitting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
totally fitting.
No, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, no,
Looking
it
forward to the
absolutely will.
barbecue, honestly.
Me too, man. It's gonna be so
There's going
good.
to be barbecue in Texas.
I
Yeah.
checked.
Texas
Texas
barbecue,
Not
that's what
a
I'm
not a
looking for.
large barbecue.
No, I'm looking forward to getting authentic barbecue.
They might have some there. I don't know. You never know.
That would be wicked.
There's got to be some vendors. It's gonna be all day, really, right? All right. Well, let's move on to the next song. For crying out loud. That was essentially it, huh?
Yeah, that one's rad.
Yeah.
Washam's a rad drummer. Like, just I like the play of the bass and the drums on that, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like glassy guitar. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Isn't it
good one
weird?
too.
Fucking crazy. So I was just
Yeah, that
listening
one
to
has
that. Go
that
ahead.
one has a real ethereal kind of feeling. The way
does.
that it kind of wanders.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like I was listening to it just now, and so the problem with this song was that for some odd reason, there's no lyrics for this song printed anywhere. It's not on the lyric sheet on the inside. It's not online. Can't find anywhere, but there's definitely words. Okay. So this fits into that whole thing I was mentioning earlier about like, you guys are an instrumental band and this is a song that has lyrics, but it's still not important enough to even write them anywhere.
Essentially, a giant hand picks this man up and takes him into the sky. Something like that.
Something like that, really?
Releases him, and he's very relieved about that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean,
it's not a very plausible scenario.
But
it could happen. I don't know. I mean,
that could happen when you die. We don't know. Who fucking knows? That'd be pretty cool.
Sidewalk.
Right? You just get picked up and it's just like, oh shit, it's my time. That's how it happens. Okay.
I live and hear that every day.
Yeah, man, that's fucking crazy. So that puts it into a little bit of a different perspective. But I was going to ask you guys, like, considering you don't use words, you don't need them. Like, how do you go about like writing your songs? Like, what's the first step?
Sometimes somebody will maybe have like a riff that comes in or a drum beat, but a lot of it is just being in the same room and just kind of playing, just jamming. We'll kind of riff on an idea and then just keep developing it. And then it just kind of goes from there, that's how we've always played, so maybe we've taken that for granted. I don't know if that's how a lot of other bands work, but for us, that's how most of our writing comes about.
Yeah, we've been playing together for like 23 years. So it's like, we got like a kind of a chemistry down. It's almost more like, stuff just kind of just starts happening. It's like, there's not really too much thought initially put into it. Like, you'll just start like playing a riff or a beat will just start happening. And then like, you just start jamming with it. It's almost like you just kind of like turn it off and just let the fingers do the walking or something, it's like, it's hard to describe. Like some of the songs turn out that way. Like, we don't really craft too much stuff and bring it in. It is typically when we're all three in the same room. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just happens. And there's a lot of crafting. Like once you get the initial body of the song, then it's like fine tuning and like, trying to think of like, what should we do next here going into something else. And then you play the shit out of it and try to hammer it out as much as you can before you record it. Sometimes we're in those situations where it's like you're finishing up songs and you got like maybe like a month to just try to practice it out before like you go record, and you end up hammering it out more when you play it live after the recording, and it starts to evolve. And all of our songs tend to even, you play them live so much they just mutate and change. It's like there's maybe like a 10%, 5 to 10% like wiggle room of how things change depending on the night. It's like, it's hard to describe, but nothing's ever set in stone.
It's slightly improvisational.
Kind of, yeah.
That's awesome. You just said something that kind of like sparked an interesting thing. Oh yeah, so the band Scratch Acid, I remember reading, very early before they even really started performing anywhere, went through a kind of a lineup change. Like Dave Yao was originally the bass player, and David W. Sims was originally on guitar. Have you guys gone through any weird changes like that, or are you multi-instrumentalists?
Well, Dirk kind of is. Like he plays drums and some piano, and like I just play a lot of guitar. I've always just played guitar. Like I dabbled on drums and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm just kind of a guitar player.
Sure.
I mean, for me, I started playing drums because I was hanging out with these guys, and they had like kind of started, I don't know, maybe a few years before or something.
It was like 6 months or something. Yeah.
They'd started playing instruments. We were all skating and hanging out and sharing music and whatnot. And, they had expressed interest in, starting band, doing something. And there'd been, some cheap hand-me-down drum set floating around. And God, I guess I was the only one that really stuck it out.
Yeah.
Well, really? I think you were a good skateboarder, so we assumed that you could probably play drums.
Wait, so you never?
A lot of sense.
So this is your first band, Charlie?
Yeah.
Well, this is all
of our first band.
Really?
Like we started this one like, well, I think we were 4 or 15. I think Dirk was 17 in high school. We were like at the end of our freshman year when we first started.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's you guys are like an old married couple. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah,
Essentially.
very trio.
That's
Like the
awesome.
Rolling Stones in Central Oregon.
Right. Well, so what's next for you guys? Like, do you plan on doing a new record at all anytime soon?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
we have new
it's-
songs in the works. It's just a matter of like, just with schedules this year. It's like, Charlie's going to school like in Southern Oregon right now, and just life. It's like we're trying to get together mainly just to like our focus this year is to play the shows we have scheduled. We have a couple local shows. We're going to Eugene on Monday, and then we're going to be doing No Coast. But it's mainly just trying to focus on this right now, and then like really just hammer it out over the winter and try to record next
It's only
year.
been like maybe 8 months that things have been relatively normal enough to even have
Yeah,
live
shows.
music
Yeah.
regularly in
Right.
most parts of the country, So it's like the last 2 or 3 years have kind of been for everyone. Everyone's been put on hold. Nobody really knows what to do. So we're the things are now starting up again. We're kind of getting out there, making the most of it.
There's no need to really rush to where it's like if we got new songs, it's like get to the point where we can incorporate those in the set, and then you hammer them out to the point where you're like, this is where it should be. This is the song, and now we need to record it.
But our
So
goal
it's
is
like-
to get back into the studio next year.
yeah.
Cool. Any plans for vinyl?
Oh, it'd be rad. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's always vinyl. Always sounds great.
Yeah,
That would
but
be
I mean,
cool,
like,
yeah.
the last album, no, who put that out? Wasn't Forbidden Palace, right?
Forbidden Place Records. They're out of
Forbidden Place.
Denver. I think they're out of Illinois now. I think the guy Tony moved.
Yeah, and which were
But-
you referring to, the EP that we put out, or
Yeah,
the
that was-
full-length album?
Well, that was self-released, right? The EP.
Yeah, that was self-released. Yes.
Okay, all right. So then, Forbidden Palace put out the last full album.
Yes.
Yeah, Forbidden Place.
Forbidden Place. I'm
Place
sorry, I keep on
Records,
saying
yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Oh, it sounds cool.
Yeah, Forbidden
Yeah.
Palace. Palace sent through red too.
Yeah.
I'll ask him if he wants to like maybe change it. Maybe it'll work out better for him. I don't know.
Yeah, you get some royalties off that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little finder's
Cash
fee. That's
in
all
on
I
that.
need. Just a few bucks is cool. So any plans to have them put out the next one then, or they just haven't gotten that far?
Eventually, like
We haven't-
we're just
we
kind
haven't
of
really gotten to that
kind of
point yet.
floating,
I
it's
mean-
like we're just kind of biding our time, and it's get the songs, get them recorded.
Yeah,
go
I
from
think
there,
probably getting in the studio and getting it committed to tape would be first. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think we've
kinda-
thought past that.
Sure.
like
sure.
the long game, play it a step at a time.
Right. All right. Well, let's how about we move on to the next song? Morons, Moron. Crazy.
Oh, that one's awesome. That's probably my favorite Scratch Acid song. Honestly,
Yeah.
that one's just it's intense. Like the pictures it paints, like even musically, it's like it's just
Yeah.
it's sinister. It's like it's probably the closest to a birthday party song, I think, too. It's totally like screams around us, Howard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. I definitely hear that, and like, yeah, lyrically, it's pretty dark over here.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm just looking at it
Good
right
stuff.
now. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I mean, I have my moods where this is cool. Like I enjoy it. Like, I mean, and I mean, like you were saying, I mean, the song itself is just kind of got an eerie presence to it, and it's awesome, and it's very reminiscent of the birthday party. But yeah, when you look at it, like right in front of you, that's when it kind of really kind of stands out, and you're like, oh shit, what am I putting in my brain?
I think it's a song about rednecks.
Yeah, I think so, or at least like so how he feels about the community he's growing up in, I guess, the morons moron. I think it's a great little phrase, kind of like a play on man's man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
Great,
Yeah.
Right. We already mentioned a little bit about where you're from Bend, Oregon. But is that kind of how you guys feel, like, or at least like when you're growing up as developing teen, starting this band for the first time and starting to pick up instruments?
Would be to feel
Like well, like, was it did your surroundings kind of like influence you to like kind of despise the people around you and kind of want to isolate yourselves and create
I mean,
dark,
I wouldn't
crazy
say
music?
that. No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Were you guys
I
good
mean, I
in
think
high
when
school?
you're younger, you always kind of tend to want to break from your surroundings and your upbringing.
Yeah.
I think that's normal to a degree. But then I think as you get older, you kind of come back,
Right.
come back around full circle.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I wouldn't say that that we despise that at all. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, because we all do things with our hands. You know, our parents were all working class people.
Yeah. Well, so you like got along with kids like when you were in high school, like around that time in your life?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, we're friends. I was friends with everybody. I got along with, like, the Hicks and the Stoners and the Jocks, and it's like,
Huh.
I just kind of like,
but I think
Yeah, it was
we were all
hard not
kind
to
of
rock.
probably searching for something different. You
Yeah,
know, it's
right.
not there's been a
I
disconnect.
didn't really feel, completely comfortable,
Right.
but it's like you get along and you get by. But it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make, I never really hated anybody. I can't say I really hate anybody.
No,
But like,
Right.
it's like, we just always wanted to make really weird, noisy music. It's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
like,
there's-
it's like when you discover
Yeah.
bands like Scratch Acid, it's almost like it just rings true, where it's like, this is us, kind of. It's like
Yeah.
looking in a mirror in a way. It's like,
Right.
it just, you feel like I said earlier, it feels like home, where
Yeah.
it's like, just kind of always wanted to make the weird stuff that, like, not necessarily makes people happy, but makes me happy. And if it makes you uncomfortable, I'm cool with that too. It's like, I enjoy, like, the negative reactions it shows, it's like,
Right.
it's almost
Yeah.
like that drives you more than like a positive reaction. It's like, I take negative reactions better than positive reactions. It's like, people coming up wanting to, like, talk about stuff. It's hard compared to,
Yeah.
like, where it's like, that made me really uncomfortable. And it's like, cool.
Yeah, no, a reaction of any sort from somebody when it comes to like making an art is, it's amazing. That's all you really care for, I get it.
Yeah,
I can definitely see
It's like,
the
love it or
importance.
leave it,
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
suppose.
you can
Yeah,
take
it's
it or
better.
leave it. It
It's
doesn't-
better than a
doesn't bother
tepid
me.
reaction, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad. I mean, if it evokes a visceral response, I suppose
Yeah.
that's something.
Well, you mentioned earlier about some of your live shows where some crazy shit happened, like some people breaking bones. Like, what the hell is that about? How's that
Oh,
happen?
man. Just people it's like, usually, like, we're playing like last, and everybody's like, usually pretty drunk. So it's like,
okay.
you just, it whips into a frenzy and things will happen. There's like windows that have been broken, like people getting
Right.
body slammed, like, broken bones, like, it's just people getting crazy. It's
Yeah.
almost like, like there's an element in most people that need to do that. And it's like, they need something to pull that out of them and, like, make it happen. And it's
Right.
like, I think, it's just us in front of these people in a drunken room, and it's like, it just kind of like evokes that, like, total chaos,
Right.
which is good. Like, people need that sometimes, but they don't necessarily need to get hurt, but
Oh, of course.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
No.
It's like, it's not like every night, it's like, this will happen randomly, and it's just, it's worth taking note of.
Right.
It's pretty silly shit, actually.
I would
No,
say
it's
like even
it is, but it's amazing. I mean, because it's kind of like this band, like, I mean, Scratch Acid was kind of notorious for putting on these insane shows where, it wasn't like premeditated in any sense as far as like causing chaos, but it's just part of like that aspect of like what makes up noise rock in the first place, is that there's this element where it's just spontaneity and impulsion takes over, and you just lose it and you lose control of yourself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is like it's kind of a basic human instinct, and it's in response, to like just your emotions and your feelings and how things are. I mean, this area when we were growing up was largely really conservative and rural, and for most of us growing up here, we were going to the city and seeing bigger bands and experiencing different things, and it felt really isolated out here. And especially, in our younger years, everybody kind of has that, sort of confusion and angst and stuff. And it's like our music just kind of reflected that. It was a way to get your yayas out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it still is for me, it still really is. It's like almost like the emotions you don't know how to talk about, or the things you don't know how to really resolve. They come out in, a fury, in a way, musically.
Yeah. And it comes and
I think
that's the same thing for your audience.
I think
seems
the
like,
audience responds to that in a way. It's unspoken, but you can see it.
Yeah. Do you like you're not doing any touring, right? Like how far have you gone travel wise for shows?
I mean, kind of up to 5 in the Northwest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Washington,
around
Idaho.
Oregon, Washington, Idaho.
Yeah,
so-
like we had plans, like with some with another band. We're gonna do a tour in 2020. We had all these shows lined up too, and then like COVID hit, and like
Yeah.
it was like we were on a pretty good trajectory, and like we had all these out of town shows. Like we're gonna go down to California, like better venues this time around, and then it's just like it just wiped everything.
Yeah,
just like everybody else,
Yeah.
The general
So,
goal is to kind of just go in larger concentric circles.
Yeah, maybe like try to get out towards like Denver, or like try to get out maybe a little bit further east. I'd love to do like a Midwest tour. There's so many just cool cities out there you could probably hit up. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like trying to get to that point. It's just getting the time, and
right.
It's like life happens too.
Oh, I know,
like
man.
You can't put everything on hold, but
The touring and like sleeping on floors is a very, very hard proposition at this point in our lives. So
I'd do it again. I'd totally do it again. I got no problem with that.
We very well might on the last October weekend. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, I'll be a blast. Yeah.
Because I was asking about that because this relationship that you have with your audience. I mean, it seems like that they feel that same like power that comes over them like it does you when you're playing the music, which is a little I think that's unique, and I think that's great because I know that there's pockets of scenes that are like that where that type of energy is just transferable, and you could feel it in a room. Whereas like where I'm from right now, I feel like we've lost a lot of that love and like that just kind of positive vibe feeling. Like there's still great bands here and there's still great shows happening, but I think the audience interaction with that energy is dismal.
Yeah, it depends on the night, or like there's a lot of variables, but like when everything's kind of in line, it can get crazy, and it's like you can totally feel that energy transfer.
Maybe not having vocals helps with that.
Yeah.
There's something like you have to latch on.
That would help. If there's just some guys that get up on stage and play some music, and you happen to go to a show, and then you're just like, oh, what's this? And then maybe vocals get in the way of that to a degree. Maybe that's worked to our benefit.
Well, I gotta say,
I can't say because we're in the band, we're not watching the band, so we're we only have a one-sided view of it.
Of course, and I'm sorry that I cannot provide that other perspective because I want to see you guys at some point. I mean, like I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to be there on Saturday, but I'm going to try my best. We're still kind of in planning stages as far as like how is that weekend going to lay out for us. But I really want to because you guys sound incredible and the records sound great. And I love that I can kind of make this connection between you guys and this band that you chose, Scratch Acid, and this record because I think there's a lot of similarities there. It seems.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I think we're cut from a similar cloth. We're just in the future, and they're in the past.
Yeah.
So it's but it's like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so there's this continuing theme that kind of keeps on getting reoccurring theme that gets mentioned in the shows that I'm doing, where I think I got a little hung up on the idea of like, I feel like noise rock as like a genre and like maybe even a title of like a movement, if you want to call it that, seems to be kind of going through a renaissance at this point, like kind of similar to that of grunge in the 90s. Like I think, like how do you feel about that, like noise rock being kind of compared to grunge?
I mean, I think a lot of grunge was influenced by a lot of the what you'd call noise rock in the 80s, the more post-punk, kind of more odd stuff. I mean, it seemed like more people were going for music that would be out of like Chicago or Wisconsin and stuff out of LA with a lot of the Seattle grunge bands. Right.
But do you see it like noise rock and like the bands that are falling underneath that umbrella currently, like in this day, as having some kind of like mass market appeal, like kind of mainstream possibilities or what?
I don't know. I mean, does anything have real mainstream possibilities? What is mainstream music now? I mean, what is popular nowadays?
It's weird. I mean, like,
because I don't know. I mean, what would be considered mainstream rock at this point?
I think the biggest acts currently, like in this day, are still pop stars. Like back when Nirvana started, they were kind of the ones that switched or kind of like changed the music industry, where, you know, it wasn't totally uncommon to have a rock band in the charts and competing with these pop stars like, you know, Mariah Carey and
Yeah.
Whitney
But
Houston.
what would be something that's not a legacy rock band that would be in mainstream modern music at this point? I mean, is there
Right.
new rock music that's in the forefront that's being put out there?
I don't think it could happen. It
Not
just
at
seems
not
like
at that
everything's so-
level. Not
Well,
at that
it's also
level, you know.
things
Yeah.
are very decentralized.
Well, it's like,
Which
yeah, it's so
reason would you
calculated.
need that. You can go search out whatever music you want. You could listen to stuff from the 30s.
Right.
You could listen to something new. You know, maybe what's going on now is that people are able to access music that they enjoy, and maybe that's kind of contributing to this, that people are
Mhm.
kind of getting their taste satiated and they're putting more energy into things that they like. I
Right,
don't
right.
know.
Yeah, I think what it is that, like, so what I'm learning is that you know, as for like whatever you want to kind of call noise rock,
Yeah.
kind of started in the 80s. It seems like it was probably somewhere around like 85, particularly with Amphetamine Reptile Records founding and all of the bands that they put out. Obviously that goes on, stuff like that, and in that like area of music at that time, goes on to influence the grunge era, and then grunge becomes a huge, massive mainstream thing. And now I feel like, you know, here we are, what, 30 years after grunge? Yeah, about 30 years. And is it working in a cycle? Or are we going to come back around and like noise rock is going to kind of carry that torch to be?
I mean, it seems like a lot of stuff is cyclical. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like there's a big kind of retro appeal to the 90s at this point. I mean, what,
Mhm.
like in the last decade, it was the 80s, kind of seemed like 80s culture and fashion was being celebrated, but is that also being condensed and happening quicker? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, was that
Correct.
5 years ago? Was that 10 years ago? I mean, now it's
Yeah.
the 90s, and 5 more years will it be the 2000s?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a blur, this life we lived.
Yeah.
I can't tell when that happened, but I just know it did. All right. Well, let's move on to the next song. How about Skin Drips? I think this was the one that particularly reminded me of the birthday party.
Yeah,
It does,
I could hear
It
that.
definitely does.
It reminds me of some mutated honky tonk too, for some reason. That's like the first thing that always popped in my head. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
That's kind of how I felt about the birthday party when I listened to them. I was just like,
Yeah.
that's like they got that weird, grimy, like semi greaser thing going on.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Not much to say about this song though. I mean, it's pretty like sexually graphic song.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
wild.
It's a wild one.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, I guess like that's a good feel, a good vibe for it, considering. Yeah, so not much to say about it. And then like the other songs on this side of the record, the last three songs, This Is Bliss and Flying Houses. That one, this one's crazy. Hold on, I gotta play that one. Jesus. Yeah, it's brutal.
Lots of whacking, lots
Yeah.
of twanging.
Yeah.
That's some good Ray Washam pummeling.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you mentioned him earlier, or somebody did. I can't remember who said it, but his drumming, like he went on to play for Ministry, and I think that is probably like the best progression he could have made because of how like intense and like and like the amount of beats per minute like that type of percussion requires.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
He's just he's an all around incredible percussionist, really. I mean, I can't offhand think of like a lot of the stuff he's been on, but he's been involved in a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I think
Mhm.
he played with Tad and the Digits. He was like a standing
Yep.
drummer for Tad.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
And then
mean,
like, yeah, the Digits.
just really a very versatile musician.
Yeah, but this song in particular just kind of makes me think about that, just kind of like because it just sounds so. It almost sounds like a
Mechanical.
drum machine. Yeah, like it's just
Yeah.
such
Yeah,
thudding.
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and he played with Rape Man
Rape
too.
Man,
That's
that's-
you can see with
that's
that
the other one.
song
Rape
too,
Man's
what I
going
was
with
thinking of,
Albini.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like it totally fit in with like taking the rhythm section from Scratch Acid and adding Albini, and that was a really rad band too.
Yeah, right. But as far as this record is concerned, I mean that was the last song on this album, and it's such an amazing one. Like the breaks in that song are fucking wild. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the timing is on that. Like when they just stop and just all of a sudden come in.
Yeah, it's beyond me.
Yeah, it's so great.
Wild.
Yeah. So in closing, the last thing I have to say about this record is that I found this this quote from Gary Davis, who wrote for Flipside magazine. He said that the band is unpretentious, fast, and forceful. They present no gimmicks, glamour, or elaborate stage show. After all, that's already been done so many times before. Scratch Acid simply walk on stage in their street clothes and begin to play. The quality of their music stands on its own. And I think that's a very powerful statement to make for any band. And I think that from what I have learned about you guys and like listening to your records, like I think that that kind of qualifies. You guys qualify for a statement such, similar to that.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think that's kind of the aesthetic that we're aiming for, really.
Right. No bullshit. You just
Pretty much just
Genuine.
do it. That's it.
Fucking guys playing music.
Not much thought put into it. We just do what we do.
Yeah. All right. So so when you're in Texas for No Coast Fest, are you gonna have any merch there available for people?
Yeah, we'll have some stuff with us.
Yeah, shirts, vinyl, CDs, patches, buttons.
Oh,
stuff
like
like
have
that.
you have vinyl?
Stickers.
Do you have vinyl of all the records or which ones?
Just three Forbidden Place right now. We'll have CDs
Okay.
of like pretty much everything else, and like we have tapes too. We're probably bringing out too.
Cool. Okay,
Some
that's
tapes,
great.
Yeah.
Because I gotta grab some. I don't know how the hell I'm gonna get to Texas and back. Like I have so many records to buy. It's kind of stupid.
Well, if you don't make it out, we can always mail you one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I just like to put it in your hands. That's my thing.
It always
Whenever
feels better.
Oh yeah.
whenever
Yeah,
I
right.
can, I prefer to put it right in the hands of the band.
Totally. Yeah.
So, but yeah, if not, I'll order it from you guys for sure. I just want to say I wish you best of luck getting to Texas, and if
Thanks, man.
I can't see you, I hope it goes great. I'm sure it's going to be a great turnout.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much.
sure.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, have a good day. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Take care.
Likewise,
Thank you,
thanks
man.
for having us.